we go. Okay. Okay, give me that. Give me that. Give me edit.
Yeah, I don't, since we're live on YouTube, I don't think we have to do record because I think YouTube will do the recording.
Okay. Visual. Okay.
We'll have every intelligence agency in the world listening to it.
Oh.
I will greet all the spies out there just personally.
Okay. Here we go. Welcome everybody tuning in right now. We are just setting up, so be patient with us. Getting all the links out there. And yeah. So ask away. And we will be with you in a short jiffy. All right. Get that. Okay. Okay. Welcome everybody. Yeah, sorry if my screen's a little background's a little wonky. I'm sharing all the links, so yeah. Benny. Okay. All right. I'll leave that one on. Okay. I sent the links to you.
Okay. What, by DM?
No, just.
Oh, yeah, you have to send it to me by Twitter DM.
Okay.
Because
let's see what happens. So far, nothing. No questions yet. So.
Well, hopefully the chat box is appearing. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back into your YouTube studio and turn the chat on.
It's
there a chat box? It appears? Okay. And if okay, there we go. And I give you a like. You've gotten 3 likes, so that must be from someone out there.
All right. Come on in, folks. Ask your questions. Place your bets. We're alive. Don't place your bets. We don't have nothing. I don't think we dick. I don't know.
Yeah. But in Montana, they do allow gambling in the cities. It's just that the Order does not own a casino. I want to point that out.
Hey, Viper. How you doing? What's your question for Ordo Militaris Radio? We are doing well, my friend. Just doing our show live today. M is here. EMS.
Okay, hi M. How are you doing? This is the first live program we've done for our members from our own platform. So this is a new thing for the Order, putting us more in communication. we were advised 4 years ago to be so afraid of intelligence agencies, Homeland Security, the NIS, CIA, blah, 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 FBI, and never to say anything in public and don't show your face, the terrorists will come after you. But AJ and I have grown in maturity beyond that, and we realize that we must get the word out. And what we're doing is honest and upright, and we shouldn't be ashamed by it, for it. And I know a lot of you on Twitter or social media don't use your real names because you could lose your job, or you are concerned about personal security, especially those who work in security. You wouldn't want to show your face. Nevertheless, AJ and I do not work in security because I'm a monk and he's a radio host. So we don't risk anything by showing our faces. So there has to be someone in the order who has a public face to do public relations, and that is, I guess, our mission, since we're the founding members of the order and of the Montana Corporation, which used to be a Wyoming corporation, but now is in Montana. And maybe you could put that on the list. Why did we move to Montana? A lot of people ask that question, and I can explain it here. Okay.
Yeah, we know Viper. Yeah, your face is everywhere on your Emory reviews. Good job.
Oh, Viper is one of your fans for your reviews? Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to say that watching AJ's reviews makes me more hungry than informed. So I end up watching them on a fasting day, something like that to say. But military, now I know why they call it slop a lot of times too.
Yeah. I think the best rations out there are Eastern European or Australian, but the way the customs are, some folks are having a little trouble getting them in.
Okay, David the Devore, I hope to see you now that you said thank you for the link. So a lot of the people who have sent messages through DM have asking for some kind of a link to this.
Open all the other. No worries, Viper. No worries. We can talk food if you want.
No, we're supposed to be talking about the order, not the food. Okay, we can talk about what we would do for rationing. Yeah, we will, unlike modern militaries, have a modern nutritional program, because I'm a firm believer that this best warrior has a proper nutritional diet and doesn't eat normal slop. It has to be the right kind of food so that he has the wit of intellect and the strength of body to fight, okay, and never grow weary or tired. So
yeah, and more than 12 menus of processed junk.
Yeah, well, military guys get lousy slop because there's government contract and they want to make as much money, so they give them slop, and that's not good, because if a military man has to carry around 50 pounds of that he doesn't have to carry around, fat doesn't help you fight war, except it could insulate you in certain battle environments. There's no point carrying it around. You need.
All right. Yeah. Viper says, I know way too much about the food, but not much about the order. So.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the order today. So.
Yeah. And hello, GT Fiorino. Hope I'm saying that right. Chat is awful small on my other screen here. So yeah, you'll be learning about the order, Viper. Some may call it controversial. Some may say, why? We'll get to that. We're just waiting for everybody to pile in.
And Viper, if you want to know more, the easiest way for us to tell you is ask us the questions you want answered. That's what this is for. And that's how you get it answered. So I can't imagine that. Okay, so
Fiorano. Okay. Thank you, GT.
And if you don't want to put a chat message in the YouTube chat because it's public, you can send a chat message in a private message to Militaris Cath on Twitter, Militaris CATH, and I'll see your question and answer it, okay, without letting anyone know who you are, who that ask it. For you guys who are really working security work and don't want to publicly be known to have asked a question. And
okay. Let's see. I'm twice baptized Christian and confirmed. Is your order Roman Catholic based?
okay. Okay, so Viper, I'll answer your question. We are founded, AJ and I are Roman Catholics. The order is Roman Catholic in the sense of Catholics govern it, and that's the way it's organized. And why? Not because we intend to be prejudiced against other Protestants, but it's because the Crusaders were Roman Catholics. All the Crusades were fought by Roman Catholics because they all took place before the Reformation. So since being a Crusader is part of Catholic spirituality, if you want that in an authentic way, you're going to want Catholics to run the organization. But that doesn't mean we exclude other Christians. Anyone who wants to fight for the defense of Christians is welcome in the order. It might be that some of them are military commanders, because the fact that Catholics run the order doesn't mean that the best military commander wouldn't be chosen for the job. We would choose the best commander because that's to do with his ability to command, okay? But when we say the order is governed by, in the highest levels, it will be governed by Catholics, because that will ensure the integrity and continuity. Because unlike non-Catholic Christian churches, our church does not change its teachings through the ages. We're the same. And so if you want continuity in the order and fidelity to the Crusades, you can't have better leadership than Catholic. And I know Protestants might not think that way, but it's true. And if you are a Protestant and you're attracted to be a member of our order, I believe the Holy Spirit is leading to that, because, you know, the Holy Spirit inspired the Crusaders of old, and that's the true Holy Spirit. The people who say the Holy Spirit wants you to be a pacifist, that's not the Spirit of God, in my opinion. That's the spirit of Antichrist, because we're supposed to be the church militant. And though some of us are called to martyrdom, to follow our Lord to the cross, where we don't resist the evildoer, most of us are not called to that. We're called to take up arms, like in the Old Testament or even in the New Testament times. Christians have defended themselves against persecution with force of arms, and they have every right to do that. And so we're in the Crusader tradition. So if you've been members of any kind of Christian churches, or whether Protestant, Catholic, or Reformation or Orthodox, you can be a member of our order, because our order, though it is Christian in its ethos, is not a religious order. So we don't exist to promote, preach the gospel, make converts, teach religion, okay? Or even spread the Catholic Church. That's not the purpose of our order. Our purpose of the order is to defend Christians who are persecuted out of hatred for Jesus' name, when they require security and defense services for that defense. That's the primary goal. Second goal would be to help them with humanitarian needs, because the refugees are suffering and persecuted. And the third thing would be to maintain the order by engaging in business activities that would supply us with enough funds so that we could do number one and number two. And so far we've done number two. We've supported some humanitarian causes. I think we've raised nearly $10,000 in humanitarian causes. And that's the purpose of the order. So consequently, any Protestant would, I don't think a Protestant, or even a Greek Orthodox or Armenian Orthodox or Syrian Orthodox, would object to that, since we have a general goal. For example, and in fact, many of the Christians who are persecuted around the world are not Catholics. Many are Orthodox, some are Protestants. Like in Sudan, Protestants are persecuted. In Nigeria, it's going to be Catholics and Protestants. In Syria or Iraq, it's going to be Assyrian Orthodox, or maybe Chaldean Catholics, or Syriac Catholics, or Syriac Orthodox, or Armenian Orthodox. So it's not always the same church, but that's why we're defined in a very general way, to defend Christians who are persecuted for the name of Christ. So if two Christian tribes in Africa are at each other's throats because they just have a long-standing ethnic rivalry, We're not going to be part of that because that has nothing to do with defending Christians who are persecuted out of hatred for Christ. They're not fighting one another out of hatred for Christ. They're fighting one another out of ethnic hatred. But in the case, for example, if Azerbaijan goes to war with Armenia, we'd love to help because obviously the Muslim nation of Azerbaijan has an argument with the Armenians because of religion. The Muslims have muzzled in and taken away nearly the entire ancient territory of the Armenian people, who are the most ancient Christian nation. They are the first nation as a nation to convert to Jesus Christ. And all Christians should want to defend them because they are ancient brothers in the faith. Even though in religion we have different languages, different ceremonies, or even different theology. The Armenian Orthodox Church, for example, is not in communion with the Roman Church. But if they're being persecuted by Muslims, we should stand at their side and defend. So any Christian can join the order. And maybe we should start by talking, since it's now 6 o'clock, what are the 3 ways?
Yeah. You got one from GT. Any conflict and association with the Knights of Columbus?
The Knights of Columbus are not a military order. They are an insurance company that was founded so that when the heads of households, the men who are working in factories, ended up dying in some factory accident, the wives and children would have an insurance policy that would pay his salary so they wouldn't die of malnutrition or be thrown out. And they call themselves Knights of Columbus as just a mere artistic cover. They're not knights, okay? And there was never any order called Knights of Columbus, but they are a very wealthy insurance company. And they raise a lot of money, and they do a lot of charitable work, okay? I don't deny that. But we have nothing to do with the Knights, and we have a totally different purpose. We're not an insurance company. We are actually a military order. It's dedicated to security and defense services. Okay, we are not a military order in the sense of the medieval sense, where they were orders and where only the nobility or the sons of nobility could become a member, and they took vows and they lived like monks. Because we're not that, because we don't yet have such members. If we have such members, we would do that. I'm a Franciscan, that's my vocation. Many people say, well, why don't you become a warrior and take vows as a warrior? And that's not my vocation. I can't. Your vocation is chosen by God, and he gives you that grace. You can't change that. The inspiration to found this order came to me as a Franciscan. I think our Lord wants me to stay a Franciscan. I'm an order dedicated to peace, actually. So it's kind of unusual I get involved in this, but I think AJ's told me many times if he gets his health back, he'd love to pledge actually as a knight under religious vows. So that's always possible. The Ordo Militaris Catholicus is organized so that any way you want to help and participate, there's a place for you. So we have 3 ways. You can become a member, you can become a volunteer, or you can become an investor. Members are those who make a monthly pledge, whether of $1, $8.50, $25, $50, $100. You could go up to $500, $250, $5,000. You can go all the way up. And you share some of the blessings God gave you to the order on a monthly basis, and that helps us pay expenses to promote our work. Or you can volunteer, be an investor. Then you take your assets and you buy shares of stock in one of our corporations. At present, we only have one, Ordo Militaris Inc. Montana. And that enables us as an order through that company to do the works that we need to do to offer security and defense services to persecuted Christians. And as we have 7 different ways you can help us as a business, you could put a container on your counter and have people leave donations to the order, or you could sell our products, like you could sell this flag in your store, or you could, if your business has shares, you could give us a share in your business, in your corporation, or you could donate at the end of the year, mark us as the charity to which your company gives all its humanitarian funds. And we could accept that on the basis of either helping our expenses as for offering security and defense services, or actual humanitarian aid. Your donation could be dedicated solely to like food, clothing, housing for refugees, or medical care. At those times we can do such projects in a way that we can guarantee the money is actually going to the need. And or you could buy stock, and this is the most important thing. People ask, have you put any men in the field yet? Have you a training camp yet? The answer is No. Okay, no. Why no? Because no one has bought the stock in Ordo Militaris Inc. To do a training camp is going to cost money, okay? And we cannot, with our stock, the way our stock is organized, it's to defend your investment. So you don't buy stock and we spend it on expenses. If you buy our stock, we're actually going to buy a property and turn it into a military training center, not directly through our company, but through a subsidiary. And that's to protect your investment from liability. Because if some young man comes and trains with us and accidentally shoots himself in the foot, okay, when we trained him not to, and he did it anyhow, and his father wants to sue the training camp, he can't sue the company that has your investment. He don't, because we're not the ones who did it. It was the training camp organized as a separate corporation. He would sue them, okay? So we protect your assets that way. And the training camp can get involved in offering training services at pay for people like the local police, the National Guard, and other private individuals who want the training. And that way generate an income, and then they would pay the stockholders in that company, which would be our company, Ordo Militaris Inc., and then we pay you who invest in us. So we protect your investment that way, and we generate a return on your investment. And many people say, well, it's not so charitable. I'd sooner give you $1,000 than to buy $1,000 one of your shares at $1,000. And I tell them, I'm not going to argue with you. We need expenses, but we do need to sell the stock. We cannot begin what we're doing without selling stock. So we have a Y-class stock, and that is to raise $5 million to create another company that will run a military training camp. Okay. And then we have another T series. It's to raise $5 million so we can found security and defense companies in other countries, for example, that are under high risk, like Nigeria and Lebanon, Iraq, maybe Armenia, if a war breaks out in Armenia, because those companies in other parts of the world are like our footings and bases. So they can organize and do all the diplomacy and necessary relations in that country to prepare our coming as the order. So, and then as we're raise the flag and say, this is what we need. And then all the members of our order around the world and all our other corporations around the world start sending them investments, funds, humanitarian aid, personnel, volunteers, and they all would gather there. And that local company would be running the whole show. And that way, if something goes wrong there, none of the other companies are liable. Okay, we didn't make the decisions. Okay, so that's how we have organized our investment, and that is so you can make a substantial investment, 5, 10, 25,000, with the expectation of a return and a protection of your investment from risk. Okay, and the third way is volunteering. So how can you volunteer? You can volunteer in two ways: military and non-military. What is a non-military volunteer? It's me and AJ. We don't get a salary. Everything we do, the order, we do to promote the cause. And we try to raise funds, raise recruits, get investors, encourage people to become members. AJ wrote a whole book for young men to encourage them in the Crusader spirit. He donated that to the order, so the order sells that on Ordo Militaris Inc.'s website, ordo-militaris.us. You can see an ad on the front page. That's one way. We have someone today says they want to donate. Of course, they said that's something we could sell. Or you can help us sell our stock. You can help recruit members. You can help spread the word among the military guys, okay? Or you can become a military advisor, okay? We'd love to have a staff of just advisors who don't actually physically come to our company or do anything at any of our facilities, but give us pointers like, okay, we'll give you pointers on how to recruit military guys. We'll give you pointers on when you do a military base, this is all the things you need. This is the kind of weapons you want to train them, all that kind of stuff. And we'd love to have a committee of military advisors. We'd love to have some military guys who'd be willing to publicly say, I'm behind the order. I think what they're doing is great. This is a good organization, and that's what we love. Or you can serve actually in a military capacity as a trainer, or you're ex-military, or someone serving in the field as a commander or as a soldier. Or if you've never had any military training, once we have a training facility, come to our training facility, get trained, serve with us 2 years under the order's flag in our missions around the world. So those are all the ways you can help. And you notice it's designed so anyone can help us in any way. And even businessmen can help us because we started a franchise program that businesses can ally together in what we call the Blue Cross Azure thing, which would use the Blue Cross of our order and be a way for all the businesses to help one another and contribute in being a support network of our order around the world. So there's all different ways, and anyone can help us. And Catholic clergy, we invite to be our chaplains or spiritual advisors. We've been asking for volunteers, and this is something actually we really need, because AJ and I have been doing it all. AJ even more than myself. And if we're going to grow, we need more volunteers. That's very important, even though they're non-military volunteers. So I hope I answered your question.
Viper asks again, I have watched many of your videos, so I think I already know a good deal, but what is your overall opinion of Middle East religions? U.S. media is so full of lies that I don't watch.
Okay, so we're Christians, so we believe Christianity is the true religion. And I'm going to answer as a friar now. I believe Christianity is a true religion, and I do not believe Islam is of God. I think Muhammad just made it up. And maybe he wasn't, maybe he was inspired by devils. I don't know. Many of the saints of our church say he was inspired by devils. Judaism, modern Judaism, I don't think is faithful to the Old Testament. I think it's based on denying that Jesus is the Messiah. So I think it's a superstition. I don't think it's a real religion. As president of Ordo Militaris Inc., okay, now I'm changing my hats, I don't have an opinion on other religions, because the purpose of our corporation is to defend Christians who are persecuted by anyone: Marxists, atheists, Buddhists, Hindus, Jews, Muslims. It doesn't matter who they are. If they're being threatened out of hatred for Jesus Christ, then our corporation would be interested in helping them if we can. So if you want to know the truth about Islam, there's a lot of organizations out there and videos on YouTube. Creeping Shara, Political Islam is a great channel on YouTube. You get a lot of information. So, but our order is not dedicated to spreading information about the goodness or badness of other religions. Because obviously, if we're working in the Mideast and there's a village under attack by terrorists, we're going to defend the Christians and the non-Christians there, because they're innocent people, okay? So the fact that they might be of a religion that we don't agree with is not the question. We're a professional corporation, and we'd be defending the human rights of everyone in that village, even though we would only go to a village where there's Christians. If it's totally Muslim, we're not going to go to that village, not because we're against Muslims. We want to use our resources to defend the Christians, because that's why people invest and give us funds.
Andre Garcia, our member from Colombia, is here.
Yeah, welcome, Carlos. Thank you, Carlos, for all the years of faithful service as being our point of reference in Colombia. We don't have someone as faithful as our representative in any other country. We've had volunteers in other countries. I will admit, Philip Stang, I hope he joins us here, our representative in France. And we really need reps like you guys, you military veterans, to be points of references in other countries. Is a very important service. And Carlos has been trying to found a chapter in Colombia quite a time. So if you are a Spanish speaker and you're Hispanic, and especially if you're from Colombia and you listen to this program or will listen to it in the future, contact our office, our point of contact in Colombia, because he's really zealous. He wants to set up a training camp. He wants to recruit men, but he has not yet made contact with the people who can make it happen. If our order gets sufficient funding, Colombia will be one of the first places we'll want to found a subsidiary and start a training camp, because we need to train our men in jungle warfare, because there's many areas of terrorism like the Philippines, Uganda, Mozambique, where tropical warfare tactics are needed to be known by the members of our order, because that's where it's taking place. Most of the terrorism in places like Nigeria, Mali, Niger, Chad, Libya, Syria, Iraq, those are in desert areas, so that requires desert training. anything that would take place in Armenia would be like mountainous, so we could do training like that in Montana. That's not so difficult. So we need what's going on. Carlos is really zealous there, and if you can help him found a chapter of our order, a security company order in Colombia, I tell you, trust this guy and go forward with it, okay? Because he's persevered through all these years very humbly. And I thank you, Carlos, and I salute you from Royal Italy.
Viper writes again, the extremists are obviously a different matter, but do you believe they just call God by a different name? I'm not meaning to sound condescending. I just like your opinion or knowledge.
Okay, so I'm Catholic. In the Catholic Church, there is a divided opinion. Some hold that the Muslims, when they name God, are naming the same being that we Christians name when we name God. The other opinion is that they're not naming the same being because what they call God and how they describe him in the Quran in their literature is not the being we call God. It's their being is a mischievous trickster that wants to kill humans and oppress them. And in Christian theology, we call that spirit the devil. I mean, Lucifer, Satan. So there's two opinions in the Catholic Church. I incline to the second opinion that that being which they name as God is not God, but Lucifer, but that they're deceived by him and they think they're serving God. Okay. However, the word they use, Allah, is just the Arabic word for God. All the Christians in the Mideast who speak Arabic at Sunday services will call Jesus Allah because Allah is the Arabic word for God. So there's a big confusion in English-speaking words saying Allah is a different being. He's not God, but that's based on ignorance of Arabic because Allah is simply the Greek word. I mean, the Arabic word for God. It's not a proper name. Okay. A proper name is something like Jesus is the proper name for the man who was God incarnate. Okay. Or the president is the title of the man who runs the government, but Trump is his proper name. Okay. Mm-hmm. But Allah is not a proper name. It's a generic name. It just means God.
Yeah. Just sharing the show a little bit more, folks. Get some more folks in.
Yeah. How many people are watching now, according to YouTube, AJ?
11.
Welcome to all of you. This is a question and answer period. I'm Brother Alexis Bagnola. I'm president of Ordo Militaris, Inc. And I and AJ founded Ordo Militaris Catholicus 4 years ago. I got the inspiration today in the morning at Bagno Reggio, Italy. So this is why we're doing this thing today. But we want to grow the order. So ask any question. This is the purpose of question and answer. And if any of you are from the FBI, CIA, Homeland Security, KGB, Chinese spy agency, any intelligence agency out there, I welcome you to our show. And you can ask questions too, because we're a totally transparent organization and we totally follow all international and local laws. And we're not a threat to your governments. The purpose of our organization is not to overthrow governments or start revolutions. It's merely to defend Christians from persecution, where security and defense can help them be defended. Okay, that is our chief mission. We're apolitical. We're independent of geopolitics. We are not an agency of the U.S. government. I want nothing to do with the U.S. government, not because I'm not patriotic to my country, but we don't want to be in any way controlled about who we do or do not protect. Okay, so our business plan is designed so that we have the freedom to do that without having to seek any kind of permission from the U.S. government. So our American corporation has no intention to export military hardware or to offer security and defense services overseas. Our order in other parts of the world will found companies and do those things. Our American corporation will only invest in overseas companies, which we can do without requiring permission of the U.S. government. Okay, so that's why we take that approach so that we are politically and legally independent from the U.S. government, federal government, and even from the state government in Montana.
Mm-hmm. Another random question from Viper. What is your thoughts on Buddhism? And he's like, I'm an insurance guy, not connected to the government in any way.
Okay, so Buddha, your question is really outside of the scope of this program, Viper, I'd love to make a comment on Buddhism, but as this is not the purpose of this show, and you'd have to ask me personally as a friar. If you go to fromrome.info and any comment on any page, you can ask me that question, and I will reply as Brother Alexis Spagnola and not as president of Militaris Inc. or head of the order here. There's 9 others of you out there. Ask a question, okay? EM, I know you can ask questions if you're listening in, but ask a question.
GT writes, has there been any discussion with any diocese as far as having reenactment groups or representing anywhere locally? I imagine there's not officially endorsements.
Okay, we are not a reenactment group. We don't dress up as crusaders and reenact crusader battles, okay? We are not an organization controlled by the Catholic Church. We are not under any bishop. We are not authorized by the Pope. And that is so that we can act independently of ecclesiastic politics, okay? And because the offering of security and defense services in the Catholic concept of things is just like baking bread. If you founded a bakery, you wouldn't ask the bishop to get permission to open a bakery or to get a job as a car mechanic. That's not the Catholic religion. And so consequently, even offering security and defense services, we don't need permission of the bishop to do anything in its diocese that we do, because we're not running seminaries or ordaining clergy or running parishes. We don't do that, okay? We're just security and defense services.
Okay, let's move on to the Crusader option. What is it?
Yeah, okay, so this lockdown is obviously, if you've been watching the news, it's a highly planned project using mind control and narrative control techniques that has been plotted by the Bilderbergers for generations, and using a lot of the tactics that the Nazis did. And since they were incorporated into the founding of CIA, has infiltrated completely the American security services, American culture, and the American government, and through that, the whole world. And their intent now is to cleanse the globe of several billion people, because they believe that elites who run the world, that we are an unsightly, unclean, and useless mass, and we're taking up the resources, and so we must have to be controlled as a population, just as you would thin the herd of cattle on your ranch when you have too many cattle on your ranch. And since humans aren't edible, they just want to kill us off by vaccinating us in such a way to sterilize us or kill us, okay? This is their intent, this is their plan. That's why they destroyed the economy of the whole world and locked everyone in the house. Wealthy people who make money on the economy would not risk damaging their own investments unless their goal is even more malign. And this is what it is, and we should believe it is that. So I graduated from the University of Florida with honors Phi Beta Kappa in cultural anthropology, and reflecting on this, I say the proper reaction now is the Crusader option. It's what I call the Crusader option. I'm playing off Dreyer's concept of the Benedict option. Dreyer, who's an ex-Catholic, came up in 2013 with the idea that there's so much cultural conflict in the cities, Catholics should go into the countryside and live near monasteries and go back to the rural way of life, okay? The Crusader option is what I call an upgrade on that. Yes, I do believe now Catholics should leave the cities, because under cities you're going to be under more control of the internationalists, the globalists, the deep state, the propaganda networks, and the vaccine and sanitary control. Catholics should flee the city, go to the countryside, buy a piece of land, and build a whole new town where everything is run by Catholics. It's circled by either military-grade fencing or a wall, like in cities of old. In that town, you have your places of work, places of living, places of education, your own banks, your own companies, your own shops, your own businesses. So you're self-sustaining and economically productive, just like an Italian republic in the Middle Ages was self-sustaining and economic productive. And as a place for the Catholic people to grow and flourish, independent of controls, acting as a legal unity against any intervention from the state to wear the mask or accept the vaccine. And this I call the Crusader option, because it would include also that the whole population in that town receive military training to defend themselves if their rights to freedom of religion or even human rights would be threatened or violated. And it's perfectly legal to do this in the United States, and it's perfectly legal in many other countries. But we need to organize, okay? And this can only happen if Catholics subscribe to this Crusader object in the sense of they call up our offices and say, I'd like to be a part. For example, someone yesterday to the other day called me up and say, I can invest so many hundreds of thousands of dollars and I'd like to participate. And we talked about possible places. I can help a lot in this because for my own relatives, I spent 5 years in real estate analysis around the United States and Europe, looking at properties. So I'm not a realtor. I'm not an expert in real estate, but I have a lot of experience. I've talked to hundreds of real estate agents and looked at thousands of properties. And the best thing is if we bought a huge ranch of 2 or more thousand acres on which we can build a whole town inside, and the ranch can serve initially as the economic basis of support, where the land is fertile, the climate's not so bad, and we can live our life as Catholics free from all the political correctness of the world around us. But that's going to require families who can invest at least $100,000 per member of the family. So if your family has 3, that's 300,000. If you have 5, it's 500,000. Why? Because modern construction costs are expensive. Okay, and we not only have to build housing for everyone, we have to have some capital to invest to start businesses, so people don't come there and become unemployed, and so they generate a life and a future for themselves and the next generation who's born and raised on that place. So we have money to build a school, a church, business shops that are rented out either by the whole corporation, development corporation, or owned individually by individuals. Factory buildings, supply buildings, storage buildings, farms, fisheries, greenhouses, whatever we do, whether it's agriculture or manufacturing, whether we want to start a factory that produces guns or ammunition, which is perfectly legal in the United States and certain states. And so we become completely self-sufficient and able to defend ourselves, having a training camp and shooting ranges. And so we need capital, and we need Catholics who are willing to say, it's time to uproot and make a radical change. Because if we build communities like this all around the world, the Catholic faith will be preserved, just like in the Middle Ages. Christianity survived inside walled cities. It did not survive in the open countryside. You go to Europe, there is nothing between walled cities. If you look at the map of medieval Europe, between walled cities, there was nothing, because the army would come, and if you didn't have a wall, you'd be burned down. There'd be nothing left. So all the medieval cities, like of Italy, they were high on the mountains with big walls around them, or they're hidden in valleys and things. And that's because it was an evil age, and the evil of the past is returning now. So we must defend ourselves. We can't rely on the government for anything: education, healthcare, or security, even trust anymore. So we must become fully and sociologically independent from society and create our own little micro societies. And this is called the Crusader option, because these centers will become the fountains of the future of Catholic society. We'd have libraries and things. So in that center, the Catholic life would be preserved, just like in monasteries in the Middle Ages, Catholic life was preserved. And this would not require from the individuals, other than that they're Catholic, they pass a background check, and they don't have criminal records, okay? And they have sufficient capital to participate, but you're not going to be taking religious vows or anything like that. You're not under, you have your personal liberty. You're not under command of the order, even though the order would be overseeing it and organizing the government. So you'd have the same liberties you have anywhere else. And this is what I think needs to be done. We're getting a strong reaction from Catholics. They see that this is something that needs to be done. Some people want to flee their city right now. So there's different ways of doing the Crusader option. One is immediately purchase places like hunting lodges or tourist property where there's already little houses for a number of people who want to stay a short time. This is what I call refuges. It's not the complete idea, but allows people who are in a city and need to get out right away, that we could set up a place and it's already operative. If we had the money now, if I had $1.5 million now, I could buy a place that could house 24 beds, okay, I mean bedrooms, and way in the countryside, in a Catholic part of the country, in a state where you can get a gun without a license. You only need a license for concealed carry. And but I need 1.5 million to do that. So for 22, 24, that's pretty good because it's only 75,000 per person. And it would also have some hookups where you could accept Catholics who are refugees in RVs or campsites who just need a place to stay a short time and generate low income that way. And a refuge is a great idea because it becomes a beginning incipient community to be a point of reference for Catholics who are going to build a fortified settlement somewhere in that area. It's a lot easier to get to know an area when you're in an area. So that's the basic settlement. But I was looking at a property with AJ this morning for $6.5 million, which is 4,000 acres. And that's an operating ranch. I think it's 250 head of cattle. And so that could be a wonderful place that we could buy and then build the Catholic city at the center of the ranch. And we're so far away from everyone else on the road, no one will ever see what we're doing, and we can live privately, and it's beautiful land, fertile soil, mild climate, and but that's $6.5 million. So consequently, we would have to have 65 Catholics with 100,000 each to get that going. Okay, so it's really not that hard, seeing that there's 60 million Catholics in the country. But you guys need to promote the idea because we put out the message, but it doesn't get into other circles and other discussion groups unless someone hears it. And for those of you who aren't Catholic out there, this Crusader option is just one thing we're doing for Catholics who are threatening the country because this is something Catholics do. Protestants wouldn't look at this idea. I don't think they'd even like it because there's so many different opinions about religion among Protestants, they probably wouldn't get along in a little community. But we Catholics, since we have the same faith, it's easier for us to do. And this is something of our religious tradition to live in communities that are tightly built around churches. As a matter of fact, you look all European cities, they were all founded around a Catholic church, or at least had a Catholic church at the center.
Viper is asking, is your weapon a gun or words?
My personal weapon as a man of God is words, but the weapons of our order would be not just words, it'd be actual guns. Okay, see, how could you defend yourself, unless you have guns? Okay, guns are the ultimate defense, and they're the ones that back up all the words. So, as I said before, we are not a make-believe order. We're really about an order using guns. Yes, guns, knives, and anything, crossbows, any weapon that is effective for the purpose that we can lawfully use and own.
Okay. M writes, brother, I know of a property for 200,000 middle of beautiful, gorgeous Texas. The neighboring property has an underground, full industrial-sized butcher shop, fields of crop, and vegetation. Property could hold thousands of men. She would like to talk to you about it.
Okay, so let me explain. In the United States, offering military training to civilians is prohibited in all states except 9, and Texas is not one of them. It's prohibited in all the former states of Confederacy because they didn't want the Confederacy to rise again. So I love your offer there in Texas, but we could only use that property if we had a local chapter in Texas that wanted to do something like run as a business a shooting range or a shooting club or a game club and used it to promote the order in Texas. But we can't use it for a military training camp. And Texas doesn't have as free gun laws, as far as I understand, as other states. Because Texas was founded by a group of American citizens who came into the Spanish dominion of Mexico and overthrew the Catholic government of the state. So Texas laws and a lot of Texans are extremely anti-Catholic. Most Texans, when they see me, think I'm a Mexican and immediately get adverse because they, excuse me, if you're a Texas, excuse what I'm going to say, they stole all that land from the Catholic government of Mexico and meant for many Catholic families. Okay, so they are very averse they would be extremely averse if Catholics wanted to build a town in Texas they would see that as a return of the Mexican government, which it wouldn't be.
Mhm.
So, but in other states, the states where we can offer military training to the public are Hawaii, Alaska, Montana, Vermont, Ohio, Delaware, and the other two, if I remember correctly, are Iowa and Indiana, but I'm not exactly sure on that. So where we would want to build the Crusader option, or even our own military bases, would be in one of those states. And obviously, some of them are too small to have the room. Certainly, Delaware and Vermont are so liberal they wouldn't have it, even if they had the room. Ohio there is too liberal, and there's not enough land available anymore. Indiana, you might be able to find some tracts, but it's doubtful. Same thing for South Dakota. That leaves pretty much Montana, Alaska. Alaska's a bit cold. So there's not many opportunities in the United States, but we could do it overseas, you know. So if I had a big landowner in, let's say, Mauritania, offer some land for a training camp, and the government allowed it, I'd say, okay, well, if we can get the investment for it, let's go with it. Because where in the world isn't supporting for our training camp? But for cities of refuge, they have to be in the countries where the Catholics already live and can do legally what I'm suggesting to do. So, for example, in Wyoming, we can't do it because the parading of private military troops in Montana is prohibited in their constitution. And that's why when we founded Montana, we were asked to leave by the governor because he feared that one day we would parade troops. And he threatened to take action on us out of fear that in the future we would do that was prohibited. Well, we wouldn't do that, which was prohibited, but I left Wyoming. Excuse me, I said Montana a moment ago, but I meant Wyoming. We moved the corporation from Wyoming to Montana to avoid that. Because in Montana, in the Constitution, every able-bodied man is a member of the state militia and should know how to use a gun to defend that long border with Canada. So if we do what we're doing in Montana, we're fulfilling a duty of the Constitution of the state.
Yes, GT. This is set up as a Catholic security company, not a militia. Okay. And hello to our friends north of the border in Canada, Smitty and CT.
Okay. Yeah, let me point this out because a lot of people ask us, are you a militia? A militia is a group of men organized to defend the territory. It's usually fixed or stationed in the town or county or state or province that it is raised in. It is a militia technically is raised by a legitimate state authority of some kind, even if it's just the mayor. We are not militia because we do not come in being as an organization, nor we seek to come into organize military units for governments. Okay, we only organize military units to defend Christians under our own control. Now, if there was a war against Christians in a country, our military units might serve with those that are sponsored by that country side by side, but and under their command and control. But they would still be our units and have their own integrity. Our members wouldn't meld into their armies and serve anonymously. They'd be members of it. So we do not organize militias. In principle, we would never raise a militia. Now, if a government asked us, like in Nigeria, to organize a Catholic militia to defend part of their country against, yeah, well, then we could send military advisors, but then that would be a militia of the Nigerian government, not of our order. So we have no reason to organize militias because we don't own territory and we're not intended to be a sovereign power. Okay, so a lot of people ask us this. That's why I had to answer that question. Are we a militia? Do we support militias?
Interesting. Amazing, she says. This place would be available ASAP. I'm visiting soon because it has been bought by a friend who needs some help with it.
Are you referring to the place in Texas?
You talking about the place in Texas? Let's see if I can tag. Let's see.
There's a bit of time delay between what we say and how you hear it on YouTube. So you hear it about a minute behind us. So
While we wait for yes.
Well, if your friend owns it, we really can't talk about how your friend would use it. That's just not polite. It's their property. Now, if you owned it, then we could talk to you maybe how we could use it as a headquarters for a state chapter, because our religious association can have state chapters that do other activities like run survival camps, run gun shops, run shooting ranges, run any kind of other business activity where they're promoting the growth of the order in that area of the country, state, or world, and raising a bit of income that might are encouraging their members to invest in our other works around the world that are actual security and defense companies.
It does have a butcher shop, so it could be Ordo Militaris meats.
That's right. Okay. So if it was your property and you wanted to found a company called Crusader Meats, Crusader Beef, for example, that would donate a certain amount of its profits or stock to Ordo Militaris Inc. You could help the order that way. That'd be great. Or even just, supply us. But you can help in any sort of ways. But it's not our property. It's not your property. So it wouldn't really be polite to try to convince your friend to use their property for our purpose, unless you could tell them about the order. And if they want to join our order as a member or supporter or investor, then that's another thing. But it sounds like a very interesting property. But we have to, what the order is looking for is people to volunteer their own time, their own money, or their own investments, or to recruit others who want to do that. But we're not interested in getting other people to give us their things when they're not members of our order or supporter. We're not an organization that tries to milk other people of their money, okay, or manipulate other people in any way or coerce them, or don't get involved in that at all. We only want support from those who are our members, volunteers, or investors, who are our members, our volunteers, and our members. We're not out to force or convince other people to help us who don't know anything about us or don't want to do anything about us or not members of our order, things like that.
Okay. Let's see here. My friend bought it to house clergy who are on the run. 2 priests and seminarians are already living there prematurely, but more building and development coming soon. It is massive. My friend could never have enough to do with it.
Oh, okay. So they're building a refuge. Okay. Well, that's great. They're building a refuge. I think Catholics everywhere should build refuges. Okay. And that's a wonderful thing. And the Ordo Militaris Catholicus doesn't have to be involved in all these affairs. Okay. And if anyone listening to our program says, hey, this is a great idea, I'm going to do it on my own, go right ahead. You'll have our absolute admiration and respect. And if we can help in any way, advising and counseling, we'll give your help free of charge. But the Crusader option, as far as we're talking about here, would be a project of the order and done under the aegis of our order, with all our military experts behind it and as advisors on how to do what's being done there. Not just as a refuge, okay, but as a place to build the future.
Yeah. CT says, I hear Kelowna, British Columbia is a nice area. Could be pricey though. And Smitty replies, 2 acres of hills with people into shape. And then Smitty replied, but Canada also has the Militia Act.
What is the Militia Act? I'd love to be informed about that. As far as our American corporation is concerned, we cannot do anything directly in Canada. However, if a Canadian wanted to found a security and defense company in Canada, they could either, with our assistance, found one, or they can invest in our American company, and our American company can found a subsidiary in Canada. And that way we could legally operate in Canada. But since we're not a militia, I don't think we would violate the Militia Act, but it depends on the details of what that act is.
They have to go there. Either Smitty's kids are ready for being cared for, and I think CT's on the road, so be safe, everybody. Okay.
Okay.
And
God bless.
So I'll look into that Canadian.
Okay. Any other questions? How many are currently listening, according to your thing, AJ?
We're bouncing between 11 and 10. I mean, 11 and 12.
Okay.
CT last message was, I can't say either, but I want to say I do enjoy listening to your programs as I'm trucking down the highway.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a great to have a trucker listen to us. So, and I'm glad you can hear our programs while you're a trucker. You must have good equipment. So, anyone else have a question?
Mm. Let's see here. Let's see if I missed anything here. GT comes back about what she asked. Well, I'm thinking it's a he, she, but she said, Thanks for that about the knights." And she says, "Aren't you, aren't you essentially protecting the Holy See?"
No, we're not protecting the Holy See. The Holy See, as a technical term, means the Vatican and the Roman Pontiff. So we have no intention of protecting the Holy See. I mean, they have their own military guard and police, and they don't need our help.
Mm-hmm.
If we found a security and defense company in Italy, we wouldn't have that intention either. Ours is to defend Christians who can't defend themselves. I think the Vatican should be able to defend itself.
Yeah. And another one from this person. What has been the biggest hurdle in garnering attention and followers?
Okay.
Hold on, folks. We are having a little problem here. He's frozen right now.
Video that talked about persecution of Christians in Iraq. I've been banned. Militaris Catholic was banned 5 times on Twitter for no reason at all. AJ's been banned in Twitter many times, and even on YouTube many times. He can't even upload certain things. I've been kicked off Facebook. I've been banned from Facebook because I uploaded a flag with a cross on it. So we've been heavily persecuted, and they thought that that would psychologically break us down. Let's not even talk about the thousands of trolls. For example, at Militaris Cath, we have 8,000 followers. I have blocked 7,500 trolls that came after us. So we're targeted by all the Marxists, all the Islamic supremacists, all the atheist groups, all the anti-Catholic groups, all the everyone. But they haven't taken AJ and I down. We keep fighting, we keep getting up, and our spirit is not broken. So that's our biggest problem. Our second problem is that rarely does anyone on social media receive information that convinces them to change their life. Most people on social media, because they have nothing to do and just want to breeze away the day, not because they want to make some heroic commitment in life, like joining a group of crusaders like Ordo Militaris. So it's not really the place to look for people of great valor, moral integrity, and courage and generosity. Okay, so that's the biggest problem. We could do more information, but I'm a friar who has not a penny to his name, and I hitchhike to get around unless I have a benefactor pay my way to travel, and AJ is homebound. So we're very limited. I've never been in the military. AJ, I think, was in ROTC. We very limited on who we know. And I don't know any wealthy people. He doesn't know any wealthy people. And we on social media and in every possible way, we've told people about Ordo Militaris Catholicus, what it could do for the world, and we've promoted it with the hope of finding at least individuals who would join us as volunteers to promote it, become members by some small monthly pledge, and we've had up to 200 members in 2016, 2017, 2018, when there was more terrorism in the news every day, or invest. But the biggest problem is we have not attracted investment. Ordo Militaris Inc. as a corporation has sold 2 shares, and I convinced one of my family members to buy them. Okay, so that's what we need. We need to sell the stock. If we don't sell the stock, we can't achieve anything. And AJ and I will be talking another 10 years here. So since stock isn't selling, AJ's idea is let's sell a little promotional stuff. And we started that 3 years ago, and that has raised a limited amount of income for the order that's been paying its expenses. And so Ordo Militaris Inc. So the corporation has not gone bankrupt and has been able to go forward, like the sale of this flag or mugs, or all kinds of things. And that's the other way we want to raise money, is by starting a franchise system of Christian allied businesses. And I'd like to start the Palladium Note concept of private financial exchanges, but we haven't had investors. And we could do a lot because we're rich in ideas, but we're limited in our investors. We don't have, as a corporation, we have members right now, this current year, I'll be frank with you, pledge at about $1,500 a year. So each year we have monthly members who are pledging a total of $1,500, maybe $2,000. That barely covers the expenses of all the websites, our phone expenses, our internet expenses, all the software we license to run our things, and that does not include expense. AJ and I get no salary and no reimbursement for what we're doing, okay? And we don't get anything that way. So that's how the company is surviving. You'd say it's almost barely surviving, but okay. We have in the past years for this flag, in a more fancy edition, we raised, I think, $12,000. But that year we put it in a newspaper ad, hoping to get a lot of people, Catholics in Washington, D.C. and around the country who read that conservative paper to sign on, but we got not a single response from that newspaper. So we don't put ads in newspapers anymore. I think no one's reading them, or people who are of the integrity or kind of valor we expect don't read newspapers anymore. So we do our own publicity now, because with that 11,000, I say, AJ, with that 11,000, we could have started our own radio show. So now the money we're generating from very small sources of income, we bought some equipment to start a radio program, because AJ on his radio program is promoting the order, and that's free publicity, okay? That's giving us like $100,000 value annually on advertising that doesn't cost us anything. And Ordo Militaris Radio TV, we'd love to have other hosts on there. AJ is the only host right now. But if you'd like to help us out and be a radio host on Ordo Militaris Radio TV and promote the order, we'd love to have you. Okay, so that's our business plan. That's how we're spending our money now. We're hoping to save enough to start a camp and train guys. I got a call this spring before the lockdown. 20 young men would like to immediately join our camp this summer and get training and start with us, a security company in their part of the world. I said, I don't have the 50,000 that would be required to do it. I wish I did. Then the lockdown came and everyone's finances fell apart. So, but we're hoping at the current rate, maybe by next summer, or maybe by the summer after that. But solely through the effort of AJ and I. We don't have any investors. There's no big wealthy person behind us. I wrote someone who has $90 billion. He didn't write me back. I wrote someone who has $500 million. He didn't respond to help. So I've tried to knock on the doors of someone who won $600 million in the lottery. No response. So it's not like we've not tried or even saw. We've talked to many military men. I have 1 or 2 military men call the offices of Ordo Militaris thing every month almost. And they all say, oh yeah, we'll help you. You'll hear from me again. And we never hear from them again. Maybe they're government agents, or maybe they just don't have a thing. So even though we have not found much help, and Jay and I are going on and we're trying to create enough revenue to achieve the goals of the order step by step. And that's where the order is right now. And that's why we're doing this program, to hope to convince you to become a volunteer, a member, or an investor. Because AJ and I's sole purpose is to advance the cause of the order for the defense of Christian. That's the only reason why we're here. We have a religious conviction on this.
Hey, Jacob Noob, one of our big time watchers. Yeah, we are live. Eyes are going wacko though. Been up since early, before 4 o'clock in the morning, making sure this thing works.
From now on at Ordo Militaris Radio TV, AJ can interview anyone on Zoom and transmit it live. So if you'd like to be interviewed by AJ, go right ahead, because maybe people are getting tired of me talking every day, and there's certain days I could take a rest too. So We can now do this program if you have the courage to show your face. And I just one point I want to point out. I'd say 90% of the military guys who contact us don't have the courage to show their face or use their name. And they say that they are, won all these awards in the military and things like that. I think mostly they fear being assassinated by terrorists, and I don't discount that. But the kind of military men we need right now who have the courage to show their face and the name, because we need military men to say, I fought here, I fought there, I've looked into the order, I've spoken with brother and AJ, I've looked at all the information, they've been completely transparent with me, and I can tell you as an ex blah, blah, blah of this armed forces, that this is a group you want to join, this is a group you want to invest in, this is a group you want to volunteer for, and this is the way to solve the problem. We have military guys like that. That will really get the thing off the ground. Because when a monk says it, or someone who's homebound says it, it's not as convincing that when a military veteran who's been in battle says it, or a military veteran who's been a commander. And that's what we really need right now. But we could use investors too. But I think having those kind of military men will help us get the investors.
Yep. Yeah. Need military, what is it, spokesman?
Yeah, spokesmen, counselors, promoters, I've told military guys, okay, if we get the right military guy, I'll make him president of the Montana Corporation, okay? And because then the corporation will go ahead fast, but you have to recognize that at present, we can't pay you a salary. Yeah. However, if you can turn the corporation into a company that makes, a profit of millions of dollars a year, then we can and will pay you a salary. So if you want to work to make yourself a good job, this is an organization you can do it with, because we're a meritocracy and I will reward achievement, okay? I'm not here to be a control freak and tell everyone how to, run a military corporation. I'm not that kind of person, and that's not why I'm doing this, because I'm doing this for Jesus Christ, not for my ego, okay? Like in so many other organizations that are run by egomaniacs, tyrants, and dictators, okay? So I tell the military guys, but most military guys don't have a business sense, or they're afraid to take initiative, because the modern military soldier is trained only to obey what his superiors tell him. So he gets out of the military and he's kind of like a monk who left the monastery. He doesn't know how to take an initiative. So the guys who would be on our board of directors have to know how to run a business and take initiative, or at least have that character, and let me teach them, because I wasn't trained in a monastery to run a military corporation, but here I am. So after 4 years, I've learned a thing or two, and I think if you teach to the military guy, you guys are smart. You can pick this stuff up. It's not that difficult.
Yeah. There's some veterans who do show their face and run businesses. Black Rifle Coffee ran and owned by veterans, and you got the Warrior Poet on YouTube. He does also church, yeah, okay. Church security.
Church security, oh yes, That's one thing we could get into, offering church security, but without investors. So most military guys have families and they have to support that, and they have their jobs, so they don't really have the freedom, and then a lot are worried about liability. But our Montana corporation is not involved in risk any kind of risk, because we're not going to actually offer the services. We'll find the companies to offer the services. So we're like a seed corporation.
Any questions out there? Anybody want to ask a question?
Yeah, ask questions.
Don't be bashful. Don't be fearful. Ask away.
Now, if you don't want to ask a question on YouTube because you don't want anyone to see to ask it, come to Militaris Cath on Twitter, and in a private message, ask the question. And then your question will be read, and without it being said who is asking the question, and that way you can ask without any risk of your reputation. Okay, and
okay.
Do you have a question there, AJ, for me? I'm on our list of fallback questions when we don't get ones from the audience.
Okay. Why is corporate America the enemy of America?
Because corporate America has been infiltrated by the left, who have taken it over, but also because the world global financial elite are all under the orchestration of the Rockefellers to promote the Masonic ideal, which is the destruction of Christianity. And so the fact that the corporations in America generally are supporting the Masonic New World Order is because America is a Masonic country and is deeply infiltrated, controlled structurally by the Masonic lodges, even though it doesn't appear that in public. They're very discreet in the United States. You wouldn't know they exist. It's not like France. So that's why we need Christian and Catholic corporations who do not obey that system and exist to serve, to defend, and help Christians. And that's part of the Crusader option.
Other really big thing going on that is needed. Vets who get out of the military need jobs, so invest with Ordo Militaris.
And help us create jobs. You know, you've seen corporate America all come out on the side of Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Take your stock out of those companies and invest in a company like Ordo Militaris Inc., where you know your money's going to defend Christians, not to destroy America. And if we had a military camp up and running right now for training, I would put an announcement out to all patriots in the country of the United States. Come to our camp, we'll train you so you can go back to your communities, and when the local authorities allow, found a militia to defend your state, because we're headed to communist revolution and they're going to want to kill about 1/6 of the population. And you're not organized and you're not ready, because just owning a gun doesn't mean you know how to fight as a military unit, okay? And if you know how to fight with a military unit, you can quickly wipe out Marxist revolutionaries in your town, in your county, and your state. But we don't have this camp. 4 years ago, we asked for the funds to build a camp. No one listened to him. 3 years ago, I said, terrorism is coming to America. The left has become a terrorist organization. They're going to bring terror to America. No one believed me. Charlottesville came around. I said, look, they're going to organize riots in the cities, that they want revolution in the country. No one believed me. Now it's happening. Now it's time, I think, to believe us. But we can't do it without investment, okay? Like I said, if we had $7 million investment, we could start building a Catholic town. But we don't have it because you guys either can't invest, and I can understand not everyone has that level of investment. A lot of people in debt. But spread the word and find those Catholics who do have that investment, because once these towns and cities and Crusader option are founded, they'll become homes for even you who don't have the investment and can only afford to maybe rent an apartment there, okay? Because the city isn't going to be only for the wealthy. But first, it has to begin with the prosperous, because they have the capital to begin it, okay? It can't begin with a bunch of people who want handouts, because then everyone would die of poverty, right? So it first has to have the people have the capital necessary to build it, create it, and make it productive and create jobs on that site. So then other Catholics can come, find refuge there, and live their lives in peace.
Don't get this mixed up, folks. What I'm talking about next is the modern mindset of us Americans. We back then, during Teddy Roosevelt and even the greatest generation during World War II, we were fighters. Now it's just like, so what has happened with this modern mindset of Americans?
Okay, so when Dulles was a friend of Rockefeller's, Planned Parenthood, and all the eugenicists and Freemasons in the United States, and when he was head of the State Department, he founded the CIA, merging the U.S. military secret services with the entire Nazi spy work, because he wanted to promote the re-rise of the Nazi state in the United States and throughout the world, because the Nazi state served Freemasonry. Most people don't know that. Just as the communist state of Russia served Freemasonry. Both communism and fascism were founded by Freemasonry, okay? That's the truth, okay? So the CIA, through the MK Ultra program, has been purposely destroying the Christian society of the United States since 1948, when the CIA was founded, through a whole series of programs to change the culture and change the psychology of the average American. So our forefathers who fought in the First World War, They jumped right to it. They volunteered. Let's go fight. Now it's like, oh, me, I'm not going to risk my life. They get a scratch and go, oh, I've been injured. I'm going to sue someone. I got a scratch. Or the only people who are the fighters today are the left. They eagerly go out into that city and start murdering, burning, destroying. But where are the good people? I'm not going to come up. You know, if there are 100 people in your town burning the thing down, there should be 1,000 there defending it, but there aren't. Because you've been taught to be completely passive, to sit on your couch, play your video game, and watch the news of the world being destroyed, but sit there and do nothing. Like an absolute imbecile, idiot, coward, absolutely, I can't say the word, you're lacking a part of the male body, kind of person, okay? Most people don't even know how to use a gun. They don't have to defend themselves. Oh, well, that's for radical. I don't have a gun to defend myself. The police will defend me. Yet you're in a town of 10,000 and there's 6 policemen. You think they're going to defend you when 100 people come to town? Forget it. They're not going to defend you. You'll be dead because you relied on them. Wake up, smell the coffee. You now have to defend yourself. So that's the mentality. And you've been neutralized psychologically, culturally, politically, economically, okay, intentionally, so that when we create the Fourth Reich, which they're doing now, we are now in the Fourth Reich, they will completely control your life and you will go willingly to your own death, okay? They don't want to have to shove you in a train car and send you to Auschwitz. They want you to kill yourself in your own house by taking that vaccine and taking all the vaccines they ever give you, or starving you to death willingly because you're afraid to go out of your house to their mailbox and you can get a package of food. That's what they want to do. That's how malign they are. So that's what's happened to America. And we need to go back to the common sense that you act immediately to defend yourself and your family, and without any apologies, without any embarrassment, without any shame, and without any fear.
Yeah. I can testify to this because when we were, just normal, rural, small Kansas public school, never gave a thought to a school shooting happening here because, well, one, we all know how to defend ourselves. Two, we all have guns in our car because, well, that's just the way the city is. You're never away from them, and no one seems like they wanted to mess with our little community. But then we get this liberal principle about junior or my last year in high school, my senior year, like, oh, we need to prepare for a school shooting. So everybody go into your classroom, shut the door, and secure it, and we'll do the pretend school shooting drill. And once the all clear is sound, you can open up your doors again and move freely. And she hands out this piece of paper asking what would you done differently. And we were in the home ec room where there's only 2 windows. One has a AC unit in the window. The other one was in a closet. But still, ground floor. Knowing which vehicles are the students from the country area, you know there would be a weapon in that truck because they would go, shoot cans afterwards or do small game hunting. And I would not sit here, be a target. I would go into that closet, out that window, around the entire school, into the schoolyard where the cars are, probably with my friend's keys, grab his SKS rifle, come right back in, defend the school. And she's like, don't you ever say that again, or you'll be suspended.
Because they want you to be passive so that you accept being murdered. So that when the communists come into town to exterminate you, You do what they did at the Bataclan Theater in 2016 in France. You let them kill you one after the other. I mean, there was 80 people in the room and only 5 terrorists. They could have rushed the 5 terrorists and killed them, but no, they allowed the terrorists to kill them all because they had been so mind controlled, culture controlled, political controlled, emotionally controlled as to just be passive. Being passive is being dead in a moment of mortal threat. It's also being dead in the sense you have no character, no future, and you never achieve anything if you're passive. Okay, you're always someone telling you what to do. In the Middle Ages, everyone runs down the Middle Ages. Oh, Catholic Middle Ages. The Catholic Middle Ages, the peasants would immediately rise to grab their pitchforks and start a rebellion if there was a need for it, defend their town at the point of life. Did they worry about they're going to lose their life when they're only 18 years old or 30? No. Did they worry that they're going to die and leave their wife with 8 kids with no? They didn't. They went and did the right thing they needed to do because they knew if they didn't do it, they'd all be killed. And that is true Christian valor, courage, and common sense and prudence.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. You're supposed to sit here at your workstation, not move, not make a sound. Doors shut. It's just the particle board door. No, nothing's going to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we were on the other side of the part where it was a kitchen, you'd have some weapons, some fire, some spray bottles, like a torch.
Or you could throw burning oil in their face. That's very painful. So yeah, you have to even think, you have to even be thinking in the way I need to act and react. You have to live a reactive life or a life of initiative. And don't always think the same thing. Stop watching television. That just tells you, that just benumbs your mind. Do things on your own initiative. Do things you would never have done before, expected, honest, upright things. Don't always go to the same stores, create a habit of taking initiative, being responsible on your own so that when the threat comes, you have the wherewithal. Okay. Don't watch movies about the post-apocalyptic America and what people do to survive. Become a survivalist right now by learning how to defend yourself, getting a gun, and having an escape plan, knowing what to do, being up on what's going on, offering your assistance to the town police if they actually want to defend the people in town, or saying nothing to them and staying away from them if they're left wing and would let the terrorists kill you. And if you're in a town run by the left, I would advise you moving out because when the revolution comes, the police will come to your door and let the Marxists drag you away.
Oh, Andres had to go and GT had to go. So.
You can ask a question through a private message on Twitter at Militaris Cath, MILITARISCATH, and we won't give out your name. We'll just answer your question.
There's still 7 of you here. Please ask your question. You love to interact.
Don't be passive, okay? So the 7 of you are here. If you're not a member of the order, then you should ask a question so that you can learn why you should be a member of the order and how wonderful it is. If you are a member of the order, then ask a question, okay? And if you're a long fan of our accounts, then ask a question,
You don't fight. You don't maim you. You just,
Of course, if you're a member of the intelligence agencies, I would like to point this out. If the US government took all the money that they spent hiring you guys to watch us and donated it to us, we would have been able to help tens of thousands of Christians who are starving to death in parts of the world. So you should really tell your employer that you're wasting your money. The government should really support Ordo Militaris Catholicus because we're perfectly legal, perfectly upright. And you guys have tried 4 years to watch us to find us if we're committing any illegal crime or dishonest in any way. And you haven't found squat about us. And because we're honest and we're inspired by Christ. And this might be a group you've just never run into because we are the true Crusader spirit. We're not what the Freemasons told you Crusaders are, but what the real thing is. And that's why you're wasting your time spying on us. Do you know there's 25 military camps in the United States I'd say illegal, run by jihadis, training Muslims now to wage jihad in the United States. Is the government watching them? I don't know. They're watching us, and we don't even have a military base. And we would never practice jihad in the United States. Okay, so, there's my message to spies out there from the United States. Maybe there's some from Britain and Europe, France, bigoted anti-Catholic countries, or maybe from Marxist China. Marxist China, I say to you, is we're not a threat to China. The superpower China is so big that we would never be doing anything in your territory, so rest assured.
I guess you could say we stand with the free people of Hong Kong. So there.
Well, yeah, we wouldn't even do anything in Hong Kong, but we do believe the people in your country deserve freedom. And we do believe that China would have been a greater nation if they hadn't accepted Marxism. Marxism is just a dirty little trick invented by Karl Marx, who was a really loathsome character, and spread around by other loathsome characters like Lenin, who, like Marx, is Jewish. And so why are you subjecting your whole country to a twisted Jewish ideology? It doesn't work, okay? Because you can have a one-party state without communism and have a bit, more Chinese, more joyful life.
I think we were talking to a government agent because they didn't thumb down us, but they took away the 10th like.
Oh, they took away the like? Okay, well, after I made that comment?
No, after I said we stand with the free people of Hong Kong.
Oh, I see. Okay. Boy, I guess they were Chinese spies. Well, I don't know whether they would like us and not like us about that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. If you're on Twitter, you see all the nonsense going on. Next one. Do not let Twitter turn you into idiots.
Yeah. Okay, so Twitter was invented by Jewish Freemasons for narrative control, promoting the Marxist agenda, and controlling what you think. So they slap you if you say anything against their narrative, and they make you fear to say anything which would oppose the Marxist revolution around the West. And so it is a mind control tool. It is a narrative control tool. It is a psychological control tool. It is designed to emotionally manipulate you and change your character and behavior in your whole life. And people go on Twitter and they're like, oh, I don't have any followers. No one's retweeting me. I'll say something that will catch people's attention and get them to retweet me. And so they become fools and idiots, worse than the kind of guy who goes to the bar or pub and does a dance just to get everyone's attention so he gets a little applause because no one recognizes he even exists. Now, that's not honorable. It's not upright. Some people are desperate. But if you live a virtuous life, you do what's upright, valorous, heroic, honorable, like joining our order and fighting against jihadis or dedicating life, then you will become a man to be respected in town, and you will get attention, but not for your own sake, because you're serving Christ. And that's good and sound psychology and spirituality. And it's not become a Twitter idiot. So many people have been on Twitter for so long, they no longer even act like normal people like they used to. They say the most silly things, or you tell them a fact and they'll give you 3 or 4 tweets with their own emotions. They're upset that you actually said something better than them or quoted a fact they didn't know, and they can't in their ego even admit you know something they don't know. And you're probably talking to someone who's a 16-year-old, either in reality in his mother's basement or someone emotionally who's still there. So it's not, don't get addicted to it. These mediums make you less a man or less a woman, because they make you act like a man should never act, and they force you to act in an environment where a woman's entire beauty of person and all her elegance and grace of being cannot be expressed. So don't waste your time on social media, because it's designed to control you. It is MK Ultra program, these organizations. The internet is US military. All these corporations have strict ties with all the intelligence agencies. They're used to watch you, monitor you, what you're thinking and doing, and they're building up a whole library of what you said and did. And the least you're on them, the better. But so don't become a Twitter imbecile or a Twitter sheep.
You will learn more about this. Let's see. What is it? Yeah, Friday, next Friday. I found some interesting details.
Okay, we're going to do a program on trolls, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay. Oh yeah, watch out for jihadi threat monitoring. Why did he block you?
I don't know. I was having a wonderful conversation, which seemed to be a really good, you know, someone who might recruit at our order. He runs a site called Jihadi Underlying Threat, but then he blocked us, and we're an anti-terrorist organization. I'll leave that to the general public to ask Jihadi Underlying Threat if he is who he says he is, or is he just pretending to oppose jihadis, and it's really gathering information on groups that are truly opposed to jihadis.
You brought this up before we closed up our writing down some questions, and like people don't know how to move anymore. I was like, okay, I'm just asking how to move
Yeah, you know,
properly.
most people have never sold their house and moved somewhere else, or ended their lease and gone somewhere else. So they're like imprisoned in their own town, village, or city. They don't have the courage to move to another part of the country or world. We're in an age now where acquiring that ability is a necessity of life and might save your life and the life of your family. Growing up, I lived in 12 different towns. I've lived in more than 12. This is around my life. I'm kind of an expert on moving. And it can be done. You just have to emotionally break all the ties with people around you and realize that your life and the life of your loved ones is more important, and find a good buy. However, you must be prudent. I'm going to talk about the United States or even Italy. I've done real estate investigations in Italy. If it's for sale on the internet, it's
Mhm.
usually a property that no one wants to buy because it has major problems and you haven't discovered what they are. And there's a whole host of problems. The first rule is the reason that you shouldn't buy that property will not be described in the property condition. You will have to find it. And they won't tell you it has a problem because they know then you wouldn't buy it. I'll use it as an example. My brothers were thinking of buying a house in Italy. I went to the town and I visited it and I saw the house. Everything would have convinced me to buy it, except when I said, this is a nice, large, beautiful house, but is it in accord with zoning controls for the size of this house in proportion to the size of the property? Because in Italy, they have laws like this. Oh, I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Let me get back to you. A month later was, well, the house should really be half as big as it is. So you really can't live in the other rooms. They can't be heated. You can't put bedrooms in them. You can only live in half that house, even though it's finished to be a big house. Well, you mean then you could be fine because it's not built to code. You couldn't even insure the whole building. If an earthquake came, you would never get money to rebuild the whole thing because half of it is built against the zoning laws. In addition to that, it was built with tufa blocks, which is a soft volcanic stone in Italy, which emits very high levels of radioactive gas and radioactive particles. And in fact, the house was being sold because both the husband and wife who built it died of cancer. And these are the things I discovered looking at that property. So I told my brothers, this is not a property you want to build. But everything else is beautiful. It had like 3 acres of land, a beautiful orchard, a beautiful vineyard, beautiful garage area for doing agricultural work. The house was beautiful, it was splendid. It was done, everything was done. But those problems that I discovered were not in the property description. I know tufa rock is radioactive, and I now know more about it because I asked the question. For example, a lot of people are going to Colorado, but most of the water in Colorado and Wyoming that you pump from the ground is radioactive. And if you're buying a piece of agricultural land that's been irrigated on the Colorado River, that's been irrigated with water that's coming down from a uranium mine. And that field is probably 10 times more radioactive than is safe for human life. It could be even 15 or 20 times. If you camped out in that field and slept in that soil, you could perhaps, and you did it for a long period of time, you probably would get cancer in your back. That's how radioactive that field is from being irrigated with radioactive water. The water in your well is radioactive too, but you can remove most of that by filtration. But if you have a basement, the radioactive gases will be building up and you have to aerate that, otherwise you will get cancer of the lung. And that's true of vast portions of the West, Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, certain parts of Montana. So then there's earthquakes. Most people don't know about hail. hail is terrible from the Rocky Mountains down to the Mississippi. You need a strong roof. Most houses go up for sale because they don't have a strong metal roof and they get damaged and the guy can't afford it, so he sells his house. So there's all things that kind of happen. And you got to look at everything. You got to look at, don't believe what they say about the property, neither about the size of the rooms, the taxes, what will happen. Like in Texas, it might be a house that's beautiful. The taxes are 2,000. But as soon as you buy it, since he bought it for 100,000, he's selling it to you to 400,000, the taxes go to 8,000, or maybe they can go to 12,000. You don't find that out until after the sale because no one tells you because they want to sell it to you. And then you can't meet your mortgage payments and you have to declare bankruptcy and you lose everything. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things and issues. And I'm not a real estate advisor, but you need a good agent that's going to tell you all these problems and find it. Never take an agent to represent you who works in the same firm as the agent who is selling the property, because they will sell you down the lane. Real estate agents are the most dishonest people on the face of the earth, probably even more dishonest than politicians, if you can imagine. Because in US law, it's buyer beware, basically, and most of the time the agents don't have to tell you. And if the agent isn't answering your question, it's because if they did, you wouldn't buy the property when you heard the answer. So you don't need them to answer your question. Just you give them a list of questions and then see what their answers are. And then with your wife and family, say, which questions did they not answer? And those are the problems on that property. So you got to look at crime. There might be a sex predator lives across the street. So look up the sex predator. It could be all kinds of problems. It could be like I saw a beautiful house in Oklahoma for sale. It was built too close to a superhighway and zoning didn't allow a house to be built there. And so he was selling it semi-finished because he couldn't legally finish it. But he wasn't going to tell you that. He wanted you to buy the $600,000 house and lose all your money by buying something next to a highway you could never live in.
We got a couple of questions here. First from Anderson Paladin. Has Ann Barnhart ever approached you for an interview? I think you guys would be great together.
No, Ann Barnhart has not approached me for an interview. And I've been told discreetly that she wants nothing ever to do with me. Why? I don't know. Ann Barnhart really got the ball rolling on Benedict's renunciations and ballad. And since I have ecclesiastic training, I really upped the argument and brought it out in more detail. And I've come to Italy and I've been interviewed in the paper. So maybe I've made a bit more traction on it. I've written every member of the clergy in Rome pretty much, and all the and lots of members of the hierarchy here in Rome. And I'm an expert in Latin, so I can analyze the Latin. And I don't accuse Benedict. I just show the invalidity of the act, because as a Franciscan, I don't accuse clerics of their sins. This is a canonical argument. I keep it on that. So maybe for those reasons, she would never interview me. Or maybe because she doesn't know me or she feels threatened by me. I don't know. But I admire her. I listen to many of her programs and I read her blog regularly. And I even give a link to her from my blog, but she will never cite me by name. She will never link to my blog, anything I do right. I did a 7-part documentary on the renunciation, and she never mentioned that. And I think my argument is more airtight than hers.
We have 2 from Lily and Pimpernel. First one, I have a great appreciation for the Crusaders and want to do something to support the church, but more importantly, to follow God's will. How did you know God was calling you to your vocations? Thanks.
Do you mean our vocations in the Ordo Militaris Catholicus?
I think so.
Okay. How do you know? Hey, you just know it. It's like, this is what I always meant to do. This is what I was created to be. Is that your reaction to AJ?
Yeah.
You just know it.
Yeah. Then when I was doing the ancestry work and I was like, I had Crusaders in my family. All right. Now I know it.
If you're the kind of Catholic who watching a movie about the Crusaders or reading a book of the Crusaders say, this is the life for me, then you have a vocation in Ordo Militaris Catholicus, because we're the only organization that does this. And as I said, I believe we're inspired by God. And when it seemed to me our Lord was asking me to do this, I'd say, how could I say no to that? So obvious. So how do you know you have a vocation? It's the same way you know you're not standing in the shade, you're standing in the sun. How do you know you're standing in the sun? Even if you're blind, you would know it because you feel the warmth of the sun on all your body. But in the shade, you don't feel that. And if you have a vocation, once you stand in the right place, you feel that grace of God. And it's just like all of a sudden you become alive. It's like a light bulb being turned on and you can do everything because you have the grace. You're not doing it out of egoism. Someone who does that out of egoism will always get everything wrong because he doesn't have the grace. But the person who has the grace, it's like natural reaction to do it. And so that's how you know. And so if you have that experience, I invite you to join the order because ladies can be members of the order too.
Our second one is, where do you see Fatima and other legitimate Catholic prophecies in connection with current events in the church and the world?
Okay, this is about Ordo Militaris Catholicus, so I'm not going to answer that question there. But if on Saturdays you come to fromrome.info in about around 10 o'clock in the morning, New York City time, I do a live question and answer, and I answer questions of that kind. So thank you for your question anyhow. That's fromrome.info.
From Rome. Just from Rome.info?
Yeah, fromrome.info.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Lily and Pimpernel, any other questions regarding Ordo Militaris? And Anderson Paladin, any other questions? Anybody else? We have 12 watching right now.
Oh, that's good. People logged on. We only have 30 more minutes in this Q&A, but if we get enough numbers, we can extend it another hour, right, AJ?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I do want to let everyone know that we recently acquired a new software capability for Ordo Militaris Radio TV. So now when AJ does any show, we can do it live with a Q&A. And this opens up a whole new possibility of connecting with the audience and building an audience. And so I'm letting you know that. So the programs are going to get interesting and we can do more talk radio TV, which is rarely done. And with more people pledging to support Ordo Militaris Radio TV, we can grow the capabilities of that radio TV station even more. Because our goal is to spread it around the world and get it transmitted all over the place.
Just thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it with the new technology we're using now. So yeah, first time doing a question and answer, and I was like, it's actually pretty easy.
Now, once you get used to it, you just act normally. You know, that's the key to public speaking. Act normally. So, as for Ordo Militaris Net, the radio TV station network, it works in tablets or browsers of PCs or computers. It crashes most cell phones. Okay, so if you're coming to that site and your cell phone's crashing, it's because the software we're currently using crashes cell phones. So if we get more money, we can buy more expensive software and it won't. But until that, it has to be. So look at it on your tablet or look at it on your PC.
Yeah.
And you can listen to many of the programs there.
I'm noticing that some shows that are on our homepage where you just listen to them, they will not play fully on the Chromebook.
Yeah, they crash Android. I know that. So the two individuals just favored our program, and I hope you come in and on listen. Dwayne and Michael. Okay, Constantine. I hope you come in and are listening to us. Guido. Some of these, Luis, I hope you're in listening. Just don't tweet on Twitter. Come and listen. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, we still have 9 of you folks. Ask away.
Okay, I'm going to take a bit of break, and I'll be back in just 2 minutes.
Okay. All right, you got me here for however long you want. Keep going. Share the show. Get more viewers in. And I'll do my best in trying to answer your questions. Um, while we were waiting for him to return, please go to ordo-militaris.net. Click any of the show topics, scroll all the way down. You'll see make a free will monthly subscription. There you can help us get better apps, technology we need for the website so it does not crash. Android, Chromebook, your cell phones, and even do even more live broadcasting like we are now. And let me put the website here in the chat for you. And you see half of that flag right there where brother is sitting, was sitting for a bit. You can get that at Ordo Militaris Catholicus. That is ORDO-MILITARIS.US. I think there's still a blue bold letter banner on the front page where it says by the Gonfalon Lepanto flag.
If you want to get a better view of it on your.
There we go. There we go. Okay. And you can what's the price on the thing?
The price of this flag, the big one is $250 US.
Okay. That includes shipping, folks.
Anywhere in the world.
Yeah. And half that goes to Ordo Militaris Radio TV.
That's right.
Let's see.
Got any questions? Any questions? Ask questions. That's probably what we're doing here. Today we celebrate the 4th anniversary of the founding of the order, and that's why we're doing this Q&A. And we want to build up, you know, once you get to know us, we think you'll be able to be more willing to spread news of the order and help us out. And that's what we need. We need to bridge the gap of, because 2 people out of 6 billion people in the world, how many people we can know? But you guys know a lot more people than we do by ourselves. So spread the word about our order, share information on social media, talk to your friends, try to recruit them. But be good of example and join as a member at least. Even if you pledge only $1 a month, then people say, are you a member? Yes, I'm a member too. Okay. And I pledge at this level, you know. And we have some very noble souls pledging at, we have one pledging at $100 a month, a Dame Chevalier. And I thank her, in case she's listening or will listen to this program. We have individuals that are pledging at $50 a month, $25 a month, $8.50 a month, $1 a month, $10 a month. So I thank all of them because they help us pay for the websites, okay? And I thank everyone who's been buying flags or stickers or books. And I thank all the people who have downloaded our franchise option. None of them has taken action on it, but at least they read it, showed us that respect, and downloaded our stock offering information and have looked at it. Now is the time, I think, a good time to make an investment. So, and if you're interested in the Crusader option, call our offices and I'll personally speak with you and answer all your questions about it and how to become an investor in that project and be part of a Catholic town and city for the future for yourself and your family.
Yeah. Let's see. We're having 11 people so far, so I put, please ask questions. Folks, we need you to ask questions.
Yeah, ask a question now. Be brave, okay? If you're on Twitter all day, you can at least ask a question. It's not like you. Some may not be able to ask questions because they don't have a Gmail account. So if you don't have a Gmail account, you can't put a comment in the chat box. Come back to Twitter, go to Militaris Cath, and send me a direct message or tweet to Militaris Cath, and I will read your question, okay? That way you can ask a question too.
Okay, yeah, nothing. If you want questions, folks, please ask. This is a Q&A for you to learn about Ordo Militaris Catholicus, learn about us. So be brave, ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's see here. Let's see if they're tweeting me. Okay. Dwayne, nothing. Okay. Let's see if we can.
Do you have a question for me, AJ, on your list of fallbacks when no one's asking a question?
Let's see here. On courage, how military men have been given the wrong formation.
Yeah, okay. So in ancient times, before the invention of the gun, men had to have a lot of courage because you could only fight the enemy either with an arrow at a distance, and that really rarely took him down. You had to fight him at close quarters with a sword or a weapon. And you had to have the courage to withstand that terror, the terror of that moment, and know how to act quickly and decisively to injure or slay your enemy. And in that age, everyone wore bright colors. You wore a uniform that distinguished you clearly as a military man, and you didn't hide behind a bush. That would be considered villainous, cowardly, effeminate. No, you stood right out there and say, "Come for me." Okay. With the invention of the gun and modern tactics, of course, if you stood out in the open and said, "Come for me," someone from a great distance would just kill you, and then you would never be a fighter. So in modern military, everyone wears camouflage, they hide out, they get in a position where the enemy really can't see them, and they try to shoot at them. The problem with that modern warfare is it engenders cowardice. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong. Obviously, you don't stand out and get shot, but use that method of modern warfare, but don't become cowards with it. Okay. I have so many military guys who've been in the battle where they have to practice those tactics because you don't want the enemy to see you. And it's so formed their mind, they don't even have the courage to call our corporation headquarters because they've been afraid someone will know that they made the phone call, and I guess they're going to be shot. I don't know why they think they're going to be shot. That's just unreasonable. So there are certain, when you're in warfare and there's open fire, then yes, you hide and defend yourself, and you get in a better position where the enemy can't see you and you can see him. But now other aspects of life don't act that way. You're acting in a shameful way. You're not acting in a manly way. You shouldn't be afraid to show your face. Now, obviously, certain men who work in security services, they can't show their face with their name because otherwise no one would hire them because they have to be kind of like unseen person. I understand that. But from someone who's a retired military and he's never going to work in security again, why do you have to not show your face? Why do you have to hide away? I mean, come on, have some manliness. Don't let modern military tactics form your concept of manhood. Okay. You have to distinguish the two. Yes, in battle, you have to cower and hide. But in life, you should not cower and hide. You should boldly stand forward, just like older fighters of old, and say, "Here I am, come for me." Okay. So I'm a friar. I don't own a gun, and I've never received any training in military arts. The only thing I know about the military as a young man, I played many simulation military games in almost all periods of history, so I know something of tactics and strategy. Other than that, I know nothing about the military. I have the courage to stand here and say these things to the whole world. And people say, "Aren't you afraid of being arrested, followed by spies?" I don't care because I'm doing it for Christ, and I know I'll have my reward. Why should I be afraid? God's at my back. And that's true Christian. I think that's true Christian honesty, integrity, courage, boldness, and valor. Although I'm not using myself as an example, I'm only doing a drop of what the Crusaders of old have done. So be a man like that, and don't let modern military training for modern tactics warp or diminish your sense of Christian manhood.
Okay. Anderson Paladin writes, and I've been thinking that a lot about what people are saying, people are showing on Twitter. He writes, lots of people are saying we are living in end times. Do you think we may be?
Okay, so the standard Catholic response to that question is, We don't know the time or the hour of the end of the world. So we shouldn't live as if it's the end of the world in the sense of panicking, but we should be living in such a way that if God should call us today, we would be ready. So whether the world is ending or not, you should still be living the same way. John of the Cross says, we should be as calm saying our prayers, whether the morning sun, whether it's a beautiful, calm day or whether it's the end of the world and the mountains are melting. We should be just as calm because we're still serving our Lord. And St. Thomas Aquinas has said, well, during a billiard game, if the world was going to end right now, what would you do? He said, I'd continue playing billiards because in my rule right now is recreation. I'm doing the will of Christ, playing billiards. Okay, so I think we are much closer to the end times. I'm not certain that the Antichrist is going to come anytime soon, but I do think that what we're seeing in the world today is the rise of the mystical body of the Antichrist, the anti-church, that is going to now be forceful in the world unless we fight it back and defeat it. Okay, so we have to be active and fight in this battle because we know from the book Apocalypse that we will win. Okay, and we win chiefly through our mouth, just speaking the truth, but also in practice doing everything that's based on the truth, from living your life faithfully as a Catholic to resisting the COVID stunt to things like the Crusader option of becoming a member of our order.
Any other questions, folks?
Andrew Paladin, you remind me of something I want to talk about, and that is the Paladin Night. Okay, this is something we rarely talk about, but I do want to talk about. Paladin Night is a way to be a member of our order and an investor at the same time. It's for those who have more than 500,000 in capital and would like to help us build a chapter house of our order anywhere in the world. So what you would do is you would take your capital, and we would found a company that would be for administrative center of our order in that part of the world. And we would purchase a large estate, castle, large property, and we would run that as an administrative center of our order. Whether we have security companies in that country using parts of the property, leasing it, that's another thing. But that investor or those Paladin Knights who give us the assets to buy that property would have the right to live there without paying rent for the rest of their life. They would be the Paladin Knights of that chapter. And that is a great way, especially if you are a well-off individual man who has no family and would love to get in a project like this. Of course, you have to have no criminal background record and be a man of good reputation. It'd be a great way you can serve the order, publicly be a knight, and do something wonderful for the order and help us to advance the goal of our order around the world.
Yeah. I've forgotten all about that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Any other questions, folks? You're hovering around 9 and 10 watchers, okay? Ask away.
Ask away, yeah. So AJ, why don't you tell them about all the Twitter accounts for the order?
Okay. We have my personal one where it's not too flashy. AJ Ballman, which is A Ballman 3. My third personal account because, well, last few personal accounts I just tried to use my radio cross. So, yeah. Third personal account on Twitter. I can't put much on it about the order. And we have, again, back running, thankfully for now, Militaris Cath. The corporation Twitter account, which is Ordo _
Militaris, yes.
Militaris. Then we have Andres Garcia's Ordo.
He's Ordo Militaris
CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe we still have a Spanish chapter.
Yeah, but the Twitter account's not active, so.
So we suffered quite a bit from the Twitter purge.
Yeah, we used to have an Ordo Militaris Poland, I think it's RP, Republic of Poland, and that used to be active. It no longer is. Philip Stang, a veteran of the French Foreign Legion, that's not his real name, that's his nom de guerre, runs Ordo Militaris FR France, but I don't know how active he is on that anymore. We have Ordo Militaris IT for Italy, and I'm currently doing that one in Italian, trying to recruit Italians to the Order to found a local chapter. And we used to have state ones, Texas, South Carolina, California, but they're not active anymore.
Yeah. Either they stop being members or Twitter shut them down.
Well, not everyone can afford pledging as a member every year, and understand that. And we have a great member there down in South Carolina. He might be listening to us right now, since I saw him retweet this on Twitter. I can't say your name because in our order, we do not identify our members for security reasons by name. And so if he wants to revive that, that's great, because I think it's now we need to start doing something. And I think now more people would be willing to help out, at least with the Crusader option, because they realize they need security and defense for themselves. But Catholic towns in the countryside that are secure, highly fortified, and know how to defend themselves would be great centers for the order, and great way to build the future generation of a Catholic population that is imbued with our ideals of defending Christians.
We have a good friend in California who still listens to the shows, likes our stuff, and supports us, but yeah, I think he's just got a growing family right now.
Yeah, and we understand that.
And he'll come on the show when he's able to sometime. He said that, so it'd be great to have him back.
Great.
Any other questions, folks? 9 minutes till 1 o'clock. Yeah. Hate to be the bartender here, but last call.
We had some good questions, and I want to thank everyone who has asked questions. Ordo-militaris.us is the site of our North American chapter and our PMC, Ordo Militaris Inc., which serves as the financial legal basis of what we do, although the activities of our order around the world are not anyway legally supported by the order. Every individual has freedom of speech and is responsible for himself. So my site, fromrome.info, ordomilitaris.net, is AJ's responsibility. But you can come to ordomilitaris.us, ordo-militaris.us, and there you can read all about our order, what it's about, how to sign up as a volunteer, how to donate and thus become a member, how to invest, how to become a military recruit, how to contact us. Okay, and our number 1-406-299-9260 is a Skype number. You can call that number free using Skype from anywhere in the world. And but leave a message and I'll get back to you, because I almost am never so free that I can answer the phone as soon as it picks up. And I do not respond to unlisted numbers. So if you're going to call with a block number, understand that I will not call you back.
Okay. Henderson Paladin writes, are you guys planning on doing a show on the Borgias tonight?
On the Borgias. Okay, yeah. Andrew, we're not in order to teach people history. Okay, if we do a program, it's because we want to teach people the virtues that lead to defending Christians. So, you know, when we did our Lapano flag 2 years ago, we sold like 200, and people were all telling us, this is wonderful, you should get into selling flags. And I said, we don't sell these flags to sell flags. We were offering them as a donation to raise money for persecuted Christians. We hope you help us in that. I think maybe just a few who got that flag decided to help persecuted Christians. Everyone got it because they wanted it for themselves or some other reason. I don't know. I should publicly and thank you got the flag, but I I was very surprised by that. Why do people want to fly a flag, but they don't want to help persecuted Christians? I mean, that's so, I can't understand that mentality at all. So we get a lot of people suggesting us to do lots of things, and thank you for your ideas, but that's not what we're about, okay? We're here to defend Christians. I mean, have we talked for 2 hours and that's not clear? That's what we're doing, okay? And Ordo Militaris Radio is not a Catholic trad radio station to promote the Catholic faith. That's not what it is. It's about promoting the order and examples of valor to form future members of our order, to recruit members, and promote our work as the order. I'm sorry if that seems a bit restrictive, but you know, if everyone's asked us to do everything under the book, no one gives us any money to do it. They want us all to do it for free. I think, you know, that's not really a reasonable request for us. I'm glad you think that you trust us so much. You want us to do all these kind of things, I say to everyone. But that's not what we're organized to do. We're organized to defend Christians, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. So please understand that all our free time that AJ and I do is for that. And please don't ask us to do other things that are something that would please you or you would like us to do, because we're here to please Christ and help persecuted Christians. I hope you understand that.
Yeah. I guess we'll finish it off with why join Ordo Militaris?
I think it's something that's perfectly honest, upright, valorous, courageous, Christian, pleasing to God. It's as necessary as it is a duty, because now no one's doing it. I think it's a great way to revive Christianity, Christendom, and revive a whole spirit that's necessary for us to stop bending to the New World Order, start resisting, and start fighting back. And those begin with the basic values our order promotes. And I think that's where I got our Lord Jesus Christ inspired it 4 years ago today. And I think he'll bless you in it. If you just snap out of the mind control, the cultural control, the political control, and economic control, and realize that with Christ, you can stand on your own feet and be a crusader today, just like as your ancestors somewhere in the distant past may have been in ancient times.
Yeah. Let's see. Monday we come back with a long list of topics on our update on terrorism series. It's gotten worse since last Monday.
Yeah, every Monday on Ordo Militaris Radio TV, AJ does a program on terrorism in the last 7 days. News stories is kind of news and review about terrorism, and I usually join him. So I encourage you on Mondays, listen to our program. We share it on Twitter and on social media. So
I will be all over again. More in Africa, more in here. Hanging teeth with folks that are burning the Bible now in Portland.
Yeah, there's homophobia laws going into effect in Scotland and Italy. Or at least going up for a vote, I should say.
Oh, ew. We have a message. We have a message.
Last few minutes, unless it's a real good question.
Okay, never mind. It was from Lily Pippernell on Twitter. She's like, sorry I was away from Twitter, but I'm happy I got to ask the question. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay. We are about a minute done. About a minute.
Okay, so thank you for joining. God bless you. Please spread the word. You may not have anything you can invest on. You may not want to be a member of the order, and you may not want to, by pledging, and you may not have the time or interest in volunteering in our order. But this is one thing you can do. You can spread the word that we exist and we're out there. because no Catholic paper or other Catholic channels want to talk about us. I've asked to put ads on major Catholic websites and blogs. They refuse us. EWTN has refused us. Catholic National Register has refused us. The diocesan paper of the Archdiocese of almost every diocese in the country has refused us. And we're refused because they are they're so controlled, or they're Masonically controlled, that they believe the true Catholic response to the New World Order no one should know about. And so please spread the word so that people do know about it, and have this as an option for the future of themselves and their nations and their peoples.
All right, everybody have a good rest of your weekend, and we will see you back on Monday with update on terrorism around the world, including here at home. This is Ordo Militaris TV signing off. Deus Vult.
Deus Vult.